Hi everybody, Dave back with you. Today I am on the Rivanna River right now, the South Rivanna River. Actually, it's where the Mormons comes into the South Rivanna. I'm in a spot that I call Bleak House Swimming Hole or Bleak House Hole. I don't know if that's the real name of this place, but the Mormons forms the beginning of the South Rivanna Reservoir here, and generally this is as far as you can paddle before you hit rocks and can't paddle upstream any further. Today, I really couldn't even do that. I had to get out of my boat a quarter mile downstream and walk my boat through, and I'll spin the camera around here before I leave, and you can see all of these exposed rocks because our water is really low. Now I do want to tell you, I've been working on my technique a little bit. I've talked about the radial tunnel syndrome that I've been dealing with, so I'm trying to modify my stroke, and it's not easy after years of kind of developing a stroke that works for me. Now trying to change it is difficult, and I think most people say, like any new habit, you got to give it 6 weeks before you can kind of embed a new pattern and muscle memory. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Now the two things I'm doing the most, first of all, if you're using a paddle that the blades are offset, one of your hands is going to be the anchor hand and one is going to be a pivot hand. So when you're paddling, the anchor hand is always going to have the same grip on the paddle, and then your loose hand, you're going to actually open up so that shaft can rotate through your hand during your stroke, right? So you see what's going on there? You got one that never slides around the paddle, and then the other one that you let the paddle rotate through. So you're obviously going to be looser with your offside paddle or hand than you will with your anchor hand. All right, so I've been practicing a couple things. On my rotating hand, that would be my left one over here, I've been trying to just grip it with my thumb and index finger and middle finger as much as I can and leave the ring finger and pinky loose. Not sticking up in the air, not this dramatic, okay? But I'm keeping them loose, so I'm trying to remove the stress on those tendons and that nerve going through there. And then on my anchor hand, I'm playing playing with something where I'm trying to mostly just grip it with my thumb and index finger and almost make the OK sign. And actually when I'm paddling, I've been making a conscious effort to make the OK sign, just to loosen up these outer fingers and loosen my grip so I'm not constantly gripping and kind of just always doing that. All right, so there's that tip. And I'm also taking a tip from Oscar Chalupsky to try to keep the elbows close to the body and make a motion like this as much as you can and really engage your torso and your legs, instead of like reaching for the water and pivoting this way and really having those arms open and extended. So trying to do these two things, keep my elbows close, keep my hands looser. I've done 7 miles here, and I have to say I feel pretty good right now. I'll check in again at the end after 14 miles. But this seems to be working for me. Obviously, I have more work to do with it, but just a couple tips there on paddling style, technique, and grip. I'm hoping some people out there will watch these videos and avoid these tendon and nerve issues that I've run into. So I'll show you this spot, talk you through it a little bit, and then I'll touch in again at the end, and then I will drop my tracks at the end so you can see exactly where I am now and exactly what I paddled today. So there's what I call the Bleak House swimming hole. If you look on the right there, you can actually see a rope swing. A lot of times that is deep enough for people to jump into. Now that big sandbar sticking out usually isn't that. You're there. It's usually underwater, and there's usually just a little beach on river left, but the water's really low right now. Here we've got my boat here, and like I said, I did have to get out and walk it a couple times. Even though this thing is very long, it floats high in the water. The rudder was dragging several times, but a couple times I had to get out and walk it so it didn't scrape bottom. And these rocks, if you see that one in the middle there, that one and the one just to the left of it are often, you only see the tops of those sticking out of the water, and you don't see all the rest of these. You're aware they're down there because there are some rapids through here usually, but today they're all exposed because the water is so low. So we need rain. None of our rivers are really running all that great right now. So there's that. But yeah, you can see how low the water is compared to where it can be. And that's looking downstream, back down the Mormons, the beginning of the South Rivanna Reservoir, where it flows kind of around Charlottesville and ends up at the dam at the Route 29 bridge. So this is my regular training spot. When I want to get in 14 miles, I'll paddle up here, maybe go up into the Mormons and splash around in the fresh flowing water and then head back. So that's where I am. That's my environment here. This is where I do most of my training. So here I am at the upper end of that swimming hole. This is where the Mormons River flows in and forms the South Rivanna Reservoir. As you can see, that is generally the limit of paddling upstream. And if I spin around, there's a little deep water in the hole here today, but you see a lot of snags. This beach is usually underwater. It looks a little bit like a moonscape here today. And the water is really, really low. I can't even paddle up to this hole. And there are those boulders and rocks that I looked at earlier and just filmed a minute ago. So yeah, this is usually all covered in water. So slow going today. Let's all do a rain dance, shall we? Okay, so there we have it, 14 miles of training today. I came back down the reservoir and it kind of gets wide, no tree cover, no shade or anything like that, and it got really hot. Now I have one viewer on this channel who just loves it when I say things like the wind was windy. Well, today the heat was hot. And that was like the last 3 miles. So the last 3 miles, I could feel my core temperature rising. I could feel the heat coming up from under my life preserver. So I just said, all right, I'm just going to take it easy and paddle slow. And I've often talked about this for winter training techniques, is in the winter, if the water's life-threatening, just slow everything down. That's the off-season. It's the time to work on your technique. Well, I felt that way today, so I just slowed everything down. I practiced just gripping with primarily these 3 fingers on this hand and primarily these 2 on this hand as I swiveled. Tried to keep my ring finger and pinky fingers out of it. And when you slow it down, you just can focus on getting the technique right on every stroke and kind of analyzing every stroke. So that's what I did. It worked pretty well. It is time to go get in some air conditioning and cool off. So for today, I think I will leave it right there. Love this sport. Take what it has to give you and pay it forward.
When you want an extraordinary racing kayak made in the finest American tradition, or maybe just own a piece of American kayaking history, you want a West Side Boat Shop kayak, now available from davethekayaker.com. West Side Boat Shop kayaks. The tradition continues.